People hadn't met brown people before. And so, you know, understandably, people look at you differently and treat you differently. And it's particularly obvious, of course, as a child growing up, because children are innocent and they see something different and they automatically look at it in a different way, unintentionally even. And so growing up, I think it was difficult because, you know, you were different than everybody else. You know, there was some racism. As you get older, you know, the kids get tougher. I got in many fights. I have many scars that are healed, but not healed inside necessarily. And so, you know, I mean, you grew up being very different and being an outsider. You know, my name is Iqbal. I often tell the story, you know, it's a beautiful name, but nobody could pronounce that name. And so someone started calling me Ike, and I was so grateful that I could have a name that people could pronounce that gave me a little bit of acceptance within society. And so I stuck with it. And I think now maybe I regret it because I think it's not necessarily who I am, but like, people still call me Ike, which is great, no problem. So anyways, it went through all that. And of course, growing up as an immigrant family, you know, particularly an Indian family, very strict on education, which I'm grateful for my parents. And medicine was always highlighted for me. My father is a physician. And so I went into medical school, and I basically was lucky to get in. And from every day of my school, I would never felt like I was part of a class, though, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm always looking at things differently. You know, not that people obviously treated me poorly, but just, you know, you grow up this way, you know. So, you know, when I went into ophthalmology, which, you know, I have to say, I have to give maybe, you know, credit to my father as well to, you know, kind of encourage me into this area. You know, my wife, who's a medical school classmate, you know, found an advertisement for an elective in ophthalmology, and it just kind of worked out this way that I ended up in ophthalmology. And then, you know, just to kind of finish it off as far as fellowship, I chose an area that I thought was people were not interested in, or maybe it was people were kind of running away from at the time, which was glaucoma. It wasn't very interesting. People were really fascinated with cataract and refractive surgery and all the cool stuff there. And so, you know, for me, I thought, you know what, I want to do something different. And that kind of stemmed from being different. So that's kind of where I ended up. But I'm very blessed. I'm very privileged, you know, for where I am. I cannot deny that. I cannot take credit for a lot of this success. It's really a matter of being at the right place and being privileged.
So when you chose glaucoma, it was like because everybody else was running away from it, and you chose it because, yeah, that's interesting, really. So this is, and I believe also that glaucoma is an area, as you said, it's like the underdog at some point when you are in your residency. Like everybody's going blind from it. It's really invasive because we're not really very familiar with MIGS here in Jordan. All the procedures are a bit invasive. At the end, everybody gets this bad outcome, either taking a lot of drops. But I believe also, does that going into glaucoma gave you the ability also to create more? Was it that, or was it just because it was very unpopular and you're going through into it?
Yeah, I think I saw a couple of things. It was people were going in this direction. Usually when the crowd is going one way, I'm usually looking for another way, wherever it is, you know. And when I go to a city, everybody wants to go to the big tourist locations. I want to go to the places people don't want to go, you know. So for me, that's kind of why I was glaucoma. And I love surgery, mind you. So I always knew I was a surgical, you know, inclined, you know, surgically. So I wanted to do something that could still keep me close to cataract in difficult cases. And I thought between cornea and glaucoma, honestly. But cornea, for me at the time, it was too refractive and LASIK and everything else. And I thought that's kind of like, you know, I'm not into medicine for cosmetics. Although I do some LASIK, don't get me wrong. I do multifocal lenses and things like that. But that's not my main interest. And so glaucoma fit that mold. And yes, I also felt that glaucoma was just ripe for innovation. I just thought that we're thinking about it the wrong way, you know, and just following people until they get worse, and everyone gets worse, and loading people up on drops and drops and drops. I was lucky because I grew up in the era where drops were starting to become more available, like prostaglandins, alpha agonists, CAIs. They just started to become available at the time, and they were available, I should say. And so, you know, that for me was kind of a challenge, you know. And I love the challenge part of it. I think challenges people run away from. We all run away from, I guess, because they're not comfortable, but I think for me, it keeps me interested. It keeps me motivated. So that was the glaucoma thing. And listen, we got a long way to go. We're not anywhere near where we want to be, but you know, we're making some progress, and it keeps it interesting. And I think our patients really need this kind of thinking.
I just want to ask, are my slides okay? You're seeing the slide because I'm sharing it and I'm not sure if, yeah, okay, great.
Yes, it's a great slide. Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the next topic, which is that the rule or the role of mentorship. Like as here we can read that the key to being a good mentor is to help people become more of who they are, not to make them more like you. How much do you agree or disagree with that? And do you have certain highlights of mentors throughout medical school or even fellowship who actually pushed you into the direction that you are right now pursuing or you're on, or maybe they challenged you in a way that they told you just to stay who you are or just follow, and you rebelled against them? You know, it can be either way. I believe mentorship can be by a person who pushes you to become better, or a person who challenges you because they want you to stay who you are and or stay as you are, and you're refusing that because you want to progress more.
Yeah, I love this quote. I haven't heard it before. I think it's a great quote. I mean, mentorship is, wow, such a critical part about growth and about, you know, learning and the journey. I think you make a good point. I think mentors should sort of help you to be the best person you can be. They should also challenge you to sort of challenge your assumptions you make and limitations you place, because you're the most, you know, the most difficult thing for people is to know what their limit is. And most people put the limit low. They feel they cannot go past a certain limit because that's what they feel their limitation is. And I think one of the other things of mentorship is to give people a challenge to go past that, you know. And so, yeah, those of you who have found a good mentor, I think are very privileged to do that. I can speak from both sides. I mean, growing up as a medical student, as a resident, as a young ophthalmologist, which I still consider myself a little bit of, mentally at least, thinking young, you know. And by the way, I want to mention that there are many young ophthalmologists who are very old in how they think. And they're very old ophthalmologists who are very young in how they think. And so age doesn't always necessarily correlate to your way you think. Anyways, mentorship. So for me, I'll be honest with you, I don't like our education system. I think it's very much about following rote memory, you know, study for an exam, get the multiple choice questions right, answer as the textbook tells you to, you know, follow steps 1 through 10 to do cataract surgery, and don't change from what I'm telling you because I'm your supervisor. And I really hate that. I hate that. Like I don't like it. Now one thing I'm also going to say is that, yes, I think I'm rebellious, and I tell people to F off all the time in my head, really. But I think it's also important as human nature and human behavior to be respectful, really, because I don't know what the other person is thinking. I don't know what their background is. I don't know what challenges they've, I'm not sure how bad their day has been. I don't know what challenges they're facing in their life. So who am I to say why that they are difficult or why they are a certain way? But I will tell myself that I will not necessarily follow what they're going to say in my own head, because I need to find my own journey. So I did not really have a lot of mentors, I'll be honest with you, in medical school. I respected a lot of people. I learned from many people, and I'm not ungrateful at all. I wouldn't be here without them. But I didn't find somebody who I could click with, someone who I felt I could grow myself, and someone who challenged me to kind of grow more. I didn't really, honestly. And even in residency, and my residency preceptors may be unhappy with me saying this, they were wonderful people who guided me, who trained me for the basics. I mean, you need to have that, don't get me wrong. But I wasn't able to find a close mentor to really be able to grow and to do it. So very much, and I still probably am, I'm pretty much learning on my own as a loner. I do things often, I think often alone. Now, the most important person for me in my life as a mentor, though, is my fellowship mentor. I didn't realize it when I applied. I applied to a glaucoma fellowship that was not traditional. It wasn't like the Harvard University or like Johns Hopkins or Duke or Baskin Palmer or UCLA, right? It was Salt Lake City. How many people know about Salt Lake City, University of Utah? And I didn't just go there for the mountains, which are beautiful, of course, but you know, I went there because Alan Crandall was doing things that people weren't doing. He was challenging the norm, and he didn't care what you thought, and he didn't care if you didn't give him an award or didn't give him a title. You know, he basically just did it because he loved it, and he was good at it, and he stretched the limits. So going there, Alan really allowed me to do what I wanted, what I could do. And that was, to me, Alan is a quintessential mentor for for what I see as as mentorship. And he really allowed me to do things that I didn't think I could do, and in a safe way, but still taught me what I needed to learn. So yeah, from that day on, I had the mentor I was looking for. And I think it really, for me, was the key to flip my switch to be able to do things in the way. And I try to be a mentor for people. I don't know how good I am, pushing people and also letting people try to be who they are. But it's always a fine balance, right? Because you want to teach somebody, and if you see someone's learning the wrong way, they have a bad attitude, you don't want to encourage that either. You want to say,
Exactly.
hold on here. You got to think differently, So, but yeah, I hope that people find a good mentor or mentors, because this is such a valuable part about the learning journey.
Great, very great. So when you chose your fellowship, you